Hi, I'm Camera Bartolotta, State Senator for District 46, and welcome to Focus on the 46th. We have got one heck of a great show for you today. I'm so glad you're here. We're going to take you on a trip back in time. We're at the Pennsylvania Trolley Museum right here in Washington County, and with the help of Scott Becker, the Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Trolley Museum, you are going to learn about the history of some of the most iconic streetcars you have ever heard about. Come on aboard. Well, here we have Scott Becker, who's the Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Trolley Museum, and I would love for you to tell us a little bit about where we are and introduce some other friends that we can get to know.
Sure. Well, we're in our restoration shop where we do our maintenance and restoration of the trolleys.
You can hear them right now.
Yep.
Yes.
And it takes a lot of effort to keep these trolleys running. They were designed to run about 20 years. And this car, for instance, is over 100 years old behind me. We have other cars this old, the maroon one you can see across the way there. And we have cars outside from the 1920s, so it gets challenging, and we're lucky, we're blessed to have some wonderful volunteers here. And Bernie Orient is standing right next to me. Bernie's in charge of maintenance.
Hi, Bernie.
For the Trolley Museum.
Nice to see you. Yeah.
And Bernie's been in charge of maintenance for a number of years now.
19 years.
19 years.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, I came along with the pit.
That's right, we built that, and it was almost like a package deal.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the thing about it is, you can't go to Napa Auto Parts and get parts for your trolleys. So Bernie is very good about sourcing and figuring out how to find things.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that later. The open car you were on a little bit ago, we acquired this car in 2006 from state of Florida, actually. And it was up for auction. And when we get the cars, and most of the cars we get, they're called they've been standard gauge. That means the tracks that run on are standard railroad gauge. Ours are wider.
Oh, okay.
So right off the bat, we had to find a way to spread the wheels out. On this particular car, when you spread the wheels out, all of a sudden you're into the steps with the wheels.
Right.
So we had to totally redesign all this.
That's why they cantilever out a little bit then, right?
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
okay.
Before this piece wasn't here, and they were back in here. Of course, they needed replaced anyways. So that's just some of the things we went into. And also the maroon car had been standard gauge, and we had to do a lot of truck work on it.
Hey, Bernie, how about we hop inside here and you can show us a little bit more about this car. You want to climb on up?
Oh, we could, yeah.
And tell us a little bit about what's up front? Because I'll tell you what, when I was here the last time, I had the pleasure of watching a whole gaggle of gentlemen walk in here. Yeah, that's more than 7, I think, justifies a gaggle. But the whole bunch of guys were in here, and the smiles on their faces, they were like little kids with a brand new train set. And this is a real life train set, and people can come from all over, and collectors and people who are historians, and really enjoy a wonderful day here. So why don't you give us a little background about this particular
let's
car?
see if we have the brake handles. Do we have the brake handles here? No, okay. Well, we take them off for obvious reasons. You would have a handle here would be the air brakes.
Okay.
And then this is this controller, which lets you go from a stop to full speed. There's also a very important key here. It's the reverser. So we usually keep them away because without the reverser, nothing goes ever.
It's like an ignition key.
Okay.
Something like that.
All right.
And this is a throwback from when the car was built. It's functional, but when the car was built, it had no air brakes, so you had a hand brake, so you had to be fairly muscular to run a car. So you would have,
Look like Popeye by the end of your shift. Is that right? Okay.
Well, you would have to bone up a little bit sometimes.
Okay. I remember driving this exact car earlier this summer, and that was fantastic. That was really thrilling.
By the time we got the car, it had been modified so many times. We didn't feel bound to stick to the original stuff, so we made it's called a self-lapping valve, which none of these cars had. But it's very safe because when you take the handle out, the brakes are full apply when you take the handle out. So you take the handle out, the car is full brakes. You don't have to worry about it. Okay. Also, it's very easy to modify the brakes, and the lights. Well, most of the other stuff we try to get it back pretty much.
So, from what I understand, this originated in Brazil.
Correct.
This particular car?
Yeah,
Okay. What kind of condition was that in, if you recall?
Well, we had a number of these cars were imported in the mid-'60s from another museum. They were from bad to terrible.
Okay.
We originally acquired one of the worst ones, or the worst ones, because this, and we since sold it when we got this. And this was, I don't know how this ran, fit in the mix, but this had been, somebody put a lot of money in this car.
Okay.
Okay, because we hired, I mean, what you see in the back, that's pretty much, we might have put another coat of varnish on it.
I'll tell you what,
But that
these
was
seats
pretty-
are phenomenal.
yeah.
Everything in here is just beautiful. So how many cars are there here at the Trolley Museum?
40?
We have 50 in the collection,
Is that
and about
right?
17 of them run.
12 are fit to run, to haul people on. And out of the 12, I usually have usually only one down for any reason. Today there's none down, so I'm at 100%.
Well, so you have 12 cars that are
That
functional
carry people.
and they carry
and then we have
people.
about 5 maintenance cars that don't
Wow.
carry people, like a
Holy
crane
cow.
car and a sweeper car and dump cars.
Oh
and
my gosh.
There's always
line
one car in restoration.
Yeah.
You probably touched on that.
Okay.
And there's usually one car in some extended repair, like the one in the back. That's
Okay.
extensive repair. And come the winter time, we keep an eye. Well, we keep an eye on things all year, but something that you have to have the car down for a month. You save
Yeah.
it for the winter if you can. You can do a nice job on it in the wintertime. We just finished up a pretty intensive job on car 4145, some structural work on it.
Okay.
We had some
Yeah.
minor motor problems on it too, but
So it's a constant process. You're constantly working on something along the way
yeah,
because you have 40 cars here.
we
So
try to
it
get
keeps
that.
you busy.
Yeah. Actually, our operations staff, they keep an eye on the mileage of the cars. They don't have
Okay.
speedometers on them, you notice.
Yeah.
But they know how far they run them every day, and they write it down. And at the end of the month, he gives me a list of how many miles the cars ran.
And this is the leader of the pack right
This is
here.
the
Oh,
pack
really?
here, but when
Yeah.
you get to 500 miles, you better be looking at it.
Oh my goodness.
So-
Well, a lot of people don't know that where we're sitting right here, we're just across the street from the Washington County Fairgrounds. And they have huge events there all year long, really. So what's really neat is that you can come and you can park in the parking lot across from the fairgrounds, hop on a trolley and take a trolley ride all the way to the fairgrounds and then come back at the end of your evening. So it's really a wonderful step back in time. It's
And this
great.
weekend we have the Pennsylvania Arts and Crafts Christmas Festival over there. So we're going to run the park and ride here at the museum over to
Yeah.
the festival and back, in addition to pumpkin patch trolleys. So we
See?
have 2 different events running at the same time.
See?
And we'll probably run up to 3 trolleys at once, you know,
Oh my gosh.
passing each other. And
How many people have you given rides to this year alone?
well, we carry, last few years we've carried about 30,000 a year. So we're probably 2/3 of the way through our year. The fall is actually a very busy time.
Oh, sure.
If I might
Yeah.
add, I just saw figures on the fair this year. You mentioned the fair, and the museum transported 10% of those people.
Wow.
The
They
total
went to the
attendance was
fair,
like
yeah.
70,000. and
Oh my gosh.
We carried 7,000.
That's incredible.
yeah.
That's really impressive. Well, I can't wait to see a lot more of these cars, and I really want to ask you in a little bit too. You're going to tell me about your volunteer force that you have here.
And Bernie's a good
it's
example
remarkable.
of that. You know,
Okay.
Bernie's a volunteer.
Yeah.
He's been here for almost 20
Nice.
years now.
Wow. How
And-
much time do you think you spent here at the Trolley Museum
Last year I spent just 1,100 hours.
as a volunteer?
Yeah.
A
But I
volunteer.
had just retired last year.
Because
so
it's,
I had-
there you go.
And you know Bernie's very modest because when he's not here, he'll be talking to places to get parts made, and he'll be figuring things out at home, and you know, because I get emails from him at night sometimes about this or that, so I know he's working at home. So there, you know, he's basically taking care of the fleet,
Yeah.
and it's not a small thing.
So it's a real passion for you.
Yeah, I could show you some we're in the middle of some parts if you want to parts
Sure.
replications. This is an example of a brake shoe holder. And this is a brake shoe, cast iron.
Which is not light, by the way.
No, well, this is,
Be good for weightlifting.
anyhow, we have a car, we have 2 cars actually that use this type of shoe holder, unique to that car. You can see here there's a crack starting, and they wind up in pieces.
Oh, not good.
So we don't have any spare. All the spare pieces we have been repaired. So we're going through a process where we're making up pieces
Oh, wow. Yeah, that looks...
that will work for there
My
and weld
gosh.
them together.
Jeez.
And this is actually the third revision. There's always something you can improve on.
Right. Wow.
So we're trying to make these up. So you start with basic shapes and whittle them down until you get what you need.
So you're a parts historian.
Yeah, sometimes you have to do that. We do have a lot of used parts, but in this case, all of our used parts are worse than
They're breaking.
Used up.
Yeah, that's right. Used up is right. Okay.
They were fundamentally wrong, and have been repaired. I mean, those cars haven't run in service in a very long time. So,
Well, speaking of cars, let's go see some more.
very
Okay.
good.
I am really excited about what we're standing in front of right now because there are a whole lot of people out there, actually probably several generations, that know a very particular famous Pittsburgh personality, and this has its own personality. Why don't you tell us what this is?
Well, this car actually, it's famous for two reasons, but the reason you're alluding to is Mr. Rogers operated this car at the museum on his TV show back in 1984. So,
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Yeah, so we call this Mr. Rogers Trolley because he ran it. And so it's been, and I've seen it on TV a couple of times. The other reason this car is famous, it was the first trolley to travel on the Pennsylvania Turnpike.
Okay.
And you're saying, wait a minute, there's no tracks on the Turnpike. But in 1958, when we acquired the car, we put it on a flatbed truck, and it traveled all the way out to Irwin on the Turnpike. And we have a great photo inside of the toll taker at Irwin with his hat off, scratching his head, saying, what is this coming through my toll booth?
What do I charge a trolley for?
Exactly. So it's famous for that reason. So, and that was in the very early days. The museum wasn't even open yet when this car came here. So it's
And what year was that? I'm sorry, what?
1958.
Wow. Oh,
so,
boy.
yeah, and it came out here, and then during the bicentennial in 1976, we got a grant, and we were able to restore the car back to the way it looked when it was new. So that's the way it looks now.
Well, you know what I can't wait to do? I can't wait to take a ride in
We're
a
ready.
trolley.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay.
All right, let's take a ride.
All right. We're up at the north end of our trolley line called Arden Loop, and we just went around the loop. And this is one of our oldest cars, built in 1917, and it ran in McKeesport. And it used to serve the Edgar Thompson steel mill, and it was ran up and down the Mon Valley. And when we got the car in 1960, it was pretty tired. And it was so tired that we literally had to jack up the roof and build a new streetcar underneath it.
Oh, my.
There's a lot of new metal. See these little buttons here?
Yep.
Those are rivets. And there's over 2,000 rivets that our volunteers put into the car when they rebuilt it.
Boy.
And I think it took over 30 years, Bob, is that right, to rebuild
over
the car?
30 years.
Over 30 years.
Gosh.
It was already tired when we got it, but we wore it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we got to the point where we had to restore it, and that was a total restoration. One of the things that happens that people around this area don't realize, when they started salting the roads, that melted snow, which is now salt water, runs down the flangeways of the track in the streets, and the wheels of the streetcars throw it up against the bottom of the car.
Oh, yeah.
And the floors are wood, so that retains the salt water, so the rot continues all year long. So the steel work, the steel framing in this car, much of it was totally deteriorated. So rebuilding this meant basically gutting it completely and replacing all of that steel and then building it back up from the ground up.
Wow.
So what you have now is just the way that it came out of the factory. Yeah.
These cars were designed to run 20 years. So actually, theoretically, this car should have been retired in 1937.
Right. It's a
We
little
got it in
past that.
1960, and so we rebuilt it then, but it didn't know anything to anybody. In fact, the joke is when the trolley companies got rid of trolleys, they were literally fully depreciated.
I can believe it.
And they
Yes.
meant it.
Yes.
And we were fortunate that we'd collected parts like these windows, are new old stock windows that Pittsburgh Railways had made in the 1920s, and they were sitting on the shelf at Homewood Shops. And Bob and other volunteers went over and got all the parts out of Homewood Shops in the 1960s when it closed, and we were able to recycle some of those to put on this car. As you can see, this car is nicely decorated for Pumpkin Patch Trolley, and we have our leaves on here, and
it's orange.
And it's
It
orange.
is. It's a pumpkin color.
yes.
And one of the little things to note, in Pittsburgh, when they still remembered them, they called them the yellow cars. They really were never yellow until they faded, but the orange faded to yellow. But
Oh,
this
really?
is the exact original color that you're seeing here.
I'll be darned.
Would you like to run this car back?
Do you think I'll say no?
Yeah, I think that would be good. And Bob can, you know, it's not too different from the car you ran last time.
Oh, I'm a pro.
Yeah.
I'm a pro.
This is fully applied.
Yeah.
This is fully released.
Okay,
This is power.
got it. All right.
To get across the
This is our most famous streetcar. This is the original streetcar named Desire from New Orleans, or Nolans as they say.
Nolans. Yeah.
And
syllable.
it actually ran on the Desire line.
Oh,
it was
boy.
built in 1923, and it was used in New Orleans. We wrote a letter to them in 1957 asking them for the car. And you're saying, well, why does a trolley museum in Pittsburgh want a trolley from New Orleans? Well, oddly enough, New Orleans and Pittsburgh share the same track gauge, distance between the tracks that they each have, and Philadelphia actually has the same gauge. So they wanted cars that fit the track here. The track is 5'2.5" wide between the rails. A normal railroad track is 4'8.5", so it's 6 inches
see.
difference.
Yeah.
So in 1957, the New Orleans Public Service said, well, we're not quite done with the car yet, but we'll let you know. So when the canal line closed in 1964, they wrote a letter and said you could have it for $1.
Wow.
So we sent them $1, and then we shipped it up on a railroad flat car, and it got on the tracks here, and it's been running ever since.
Oh my gosh, that's so
We've
great.
had at least 2 weddings on it. We had a wedding last week on it.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
yeah,
Just
yeah,
last week? Oh,
yeah.
that's so cool.
So
Oh, great.
people love it, you know,
I
because it's so
bet.
famous.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
yeah. So and we have a lot of car cards, advertisements from New Orleans inside the car. So if you'd
Okay.
like, we can go inside and we'll take a look.
Tell me the bride's name wasn't Blanche.
No, I don't think it was.
Okay.
I don't think it was. Blanche Dubois, right?
Blanche Dubois.
So as you can see, we actually have some modern cards here, and Jason, this is something you probably want to zero in on. The reason why we call this a streetcar named Desire, 1947 Life magazine did a whole article on the new Broadway play. So there's Tennessee Williams, there's our car, 832, on the Desire line in New Orleans. So that's why we wanted this car, because it was featured in Life
Fantastic.
magazine. Now Life magazine today isn't a big deal, but back then it was.
Oh yeah.
It was a big deal. Everybody.
They were huge.
Yeah.
When people read.
People read. Very good, Bob.
Life
Yeah.
book and a lot of
Yeah.
pictures too.
The other thing about New Orleans is it has the oldest transit line in the United States. The St. Charles streetcar goes back to the 1840s when they were pulled by mules. So they are a very famous city for that reason, and they still run 35 of these old cars in New Orleans, just like this.
So tell me, this is probably a really stupid question, but what's the difference between a trolley and a streetcar?
There actually isn't any difference.
Okay.
It's really local sayings. And in Pittsburgh, they were called streetcars. In New England, they were called trolleys. Mr. Rogers always called them trolleys, and that made the word trolley more popular even around here. But they were always streetcars in Pittsburgh.
Okay. Pittsburgh has a different kind of
Yeah.
slang for
yeah.
a few things.
Yeah.
You know, gum
yeah.
band.
Yeah, gum band, right.
Instead of a
Jumbo, yeah.
Sweeper instead of vacuum.
Yeah.
Well, this is gorgeous.
Yeah,
though.
so we've decorated this for the holidays for our pumpkin patch trolley.
Oh,
You can try these.
These seats go
Yeah,
reverse as well.
Yeah,
That's
they
so cool.
reverse.
That is stunning. Here, I'll show you again.
Now this,
Look at that.
I'll
So
tell you
If
something.
you don't like to sit backwards when you're traveling, you can flip it around. Yes.
Now this is something you'd be interested in. This car used to have a slatted floor in it, like the car we were just on.
Right.
Well, in the 1950s, New Orleans was getting a lot of complaints from women with spiked heels,
My
and they
heels
were
aren't spiked
breaking.
and they were
yeah.
sticking in
Well, so what they did is they put tar between the slats, and then they put this rubber
Oh, my
over
gosh.
that, and that was so that women would be happy walking on the cars.
Oh,
So
my.
women's fashions actually affected trolleys another way. Back in before World War I, they had long, narrow skirts, and it was hard to lift your legs when you wore them. They were called hobble skirts. I don't know if you ever heard that. And so in Pittsburgh, they actually changed the trolley, and they sloped the floor down to get it lower to the ground so that women could get on and off the car better.
There you go. Yeah.
So two
Wow.
occasions, women's
See?
fashions changed how streetcars were were designed and maintained. So, kind of interesting. But you know, that's the interesting thing about our museum. We're a museum of the trolley era. What was it like to live 50 or 100 years ago? How did people live then? So it's not just a museum of technical things, you know, we're a museum, how did people live? The fact is that people's lives revolved around the streetcar. They took the streetcar to work, to school, to go to the movies, to go to the amusement park, to go shopping, to go to work. And so that's what the streetcar was all about.
It's a whole lifestyle built around transportation.
Because, you know, today we think nothing of hopping in our car and driving to the mall. Well, in 50 or 100 years ago, you walked down to the corner, you got on one streetcar, then you probably had to get a transfer to get on a different streetcar. You really had to plan your day of how you were going. And so it is a different world.
Things that we take so for granted right now. It was so different back then.
Yeah, but the nice thing is that actually streetcars are coming back. There's 25 cities in the United States that currently have streetcar systems, including Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. So, in fact, Philadelphia has one of the largest systems in the U.S. And so here in Pennsylvania, streetcars are still operating. We're in the old Wexford Trolley Station, which moved here on June 6, 2015. And actually, we moved this whole thing in one piece. We took the roof off in two pieces and moved it. And it went right down I-79
That was
about
a big
55 miles an hour.
Yes. Oh, that
And
was a big
so
deal.
what we're doing now is we just repainted the outside. We put a new floor in. We're going to start, we're repairing the doors. And we're going to be fixing the interior woodwork, which is all original. And we have two beautiful waiting room benches that I'll show you that are inside. They're being revarnished by our volunteers right now. And we're going to be putting them in here.
Okay, so what was this originally?
This was a trolley passenger freight station.
Okay.
So on the Harmony line, which ran between Pittsburgh, Butler, Newcastle, and Beaver Falls.
Okay, so and what is it you're going to use it for now?
It's going to be used as a trolley station and also as a waiting station and also an exhibit interpretation area. If you look outside, you'll see the gravel road right here.
Yes.
This is going to become Trolley Street. And the trolley will stop right outside the door here.
Oh, my.
So once again, it'll be a waiting station for people waiting for the trolley. And then where you see, we'll go outside, but where you see the rocks over there, that's where we want to build our new visitor center. So,
okay,
and we
great.
have some plans for that, which I happen to bring with me. But these are, we had a company called Astorino, and this is what the visitor center would look like.
Oh my goodness.
So,
Wow, that's great. Very nice.
So we're working on finalizing our business plan for this and then do fundraising. So.
Well, then that'll give you the opportunity to expand your gift shop.
Exactly.
And your museum.
Yeah,
with
and
the
we'll even have a
displays.
cafe inside.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
a lot more exhibits. You know, right now our existing building is very small, and actually when we have special events, it's kind of cramped. So
Right.
what we want to do is have a place where people can learn more about the trolley era.
Right.
We literally have thousands of artifacts and photographs. We'd love to show more to people.
Oh, sure. And there's always, the demand keeps increasing.
Yes.
I think so too.
Well, every year we carried more and more people, so
Right.
and more people visit.
But
so.
not just that too, not just the transportation aspect of it, but the visitor center
Yes,
part of it.
exactly.
You have events and everything here all the time.
Yeah. So this is really exciting. We've actually been working on acquiring this building for over 20 years now.
Oh my goodness.
And the owners of the building said when it's no longer a rental property, we'll give it to you. So a year ago, the Wexford Post Office Deli decided they were going to close, and so they gave us the building.
So this was a deli?
It was a deli.
Oh my
And it was a
gosh.
post office for a long time.
Oh wow, so now it's
So,
going to come back to
yeah.
its original design.
It was a
its
trolley,
intention.
yeah. It was a trolley station from 1908 to 1931, and then it was moved a half mile to the middle of Wexford where it
boy.
became a post office, and it was an antique shop and a craft shop, and then a deli for 30 years.
And it's the circle of life. It's going to be
It
a
is.
trolley
That's
stop again.
literally, that's a very good way of putting it, Camera. Yes, it's really a fun, and it's amazing it survived the way it did.
Really,
It's
that's
been
really,
through a lot.
I bet it's a very, very happy building right now.
Well, it's sitting on a real foundation, which it never had before. It used to sit in the dirt.
Oh, geez.
And we had to
It's a very
replace some
happy
of the
building.
sills because they were rotten. So,
Okay. Well, let's go see some of those
we're going to
trolleys.
see some of the trolleys, yeah.
Okay, so this actually does show the history for everyone
exactly.
from start to finish.
From day one.
Right. When they
Day
were,
one is the horse car.
Right, the horse cart, and then all the way through, all the way to
Right.
the end. So look
Yeah.
at all these incredible
We
trolleys.
have over 30 trolleys in this
Wow.
building.
And various stages of
Yep.
repair.
1905.
Oh my goodness.
This car used to run to Charleroi, by the way. Yeah, I think it says
Charleroi, wow.
Charleroi on the other side of it.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Here's the pumpkins for the pumpkin
Yeah.
patch ride.
This
Very
car used to
cute.
run to Washington and to Charleroi, this car
Oh
here.
boy, see?
See, it's old Pittsburgh
Mon Valley
and
right
Urban.
here. There's our Pittsburgh sign right there. Very
Yeah.
nice.
Now, if you look at Mr. Rogers, his book, he's sitting on that step there.
Oh, really?
That's the front page of his book.
Oh, yes,
The book
I've
about
seen
him.
that,
Yeah,
yes.
that's the photo they used. And
some
these were
examples
turned
of
into luggage.
the trunks that they used to put on trolleys.
And these were turned into cabins later on, and
Oh,
both
right.
of these cars, and then we rescued them.
Wow.
Yeah. The
Very
Tunerville
good.
trolley, which was kids love.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then we have
And-
modern subway cars, like this one over
was
here.
this the one that was underwater or something that you
Yes,
told
well,
me?
that was when Hurricane Agnes. It went down the creek about 2 miles until it hit a railroad bridge near Williamsport, PA.
Oh, my. Jeez.
Yeah.
But you rescued it,
Yep.
trying to revive it.
And this is kind of neat. We have, big divergence in time period. 1913 wooden car from West Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
and then a 1960 subway car from Philadelphia. So you can kind of see how things change over 50 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow, really a really great snapshot
Mm-hmm.
of history. So how long, what are your days that you're open here at the Trolley
Okay,
Museum?
we're open right now Friday, Saturday, Sunday
Okay.
through mid-December. December 13th is our
Oh.
last day. And then we'll reopen a week before Easter, so that'll be March 17th
Well,
with
that's a
Bunny
long
Trolley.
season.
Yeah.
That is a long season.
And then we'll
Very
run
good.
all through the year. And
Okay.
our website, patrolley.org, we have our schedule on there.
Okay, great. And as far as when you want to ride the trolley, how long of a ride is that? How,
That's a
how
great
long
a
is-
great question, Camera. It's about I tell people two hours because
Oh, really?
yeah, because you're going to ride the trolley and that's going to be half hour, 45 minutes. You're going to get a guided tour through this building, some of this
Yeah.
building, and we have exhibits. So I tell people an hour and a half, 2 hours.
But it goes by like that.
It does, and it's a great family friendly kind
Oh,
of place.
gosh, absolutely.
Kids love coming here. A lot of them never ridden on a trolley or a train before. So
But
this
you
is
know
a
what?
whole
And
new
that sparks
thing.
memories in their parents'
Yeah.
mind and their grandparents' minds too. Because, oh, well, I remember where I used to have to do this. Kids are just completely shocked and amazed by what life used to be like, even for their parents when they
Yeah,
were kids.
Exactly. And we've been open since 1963. We have grandparents that remember coming here as children.
Oh, my
school
gosh,
children.
see,
So
that's
that's an
wonderful.
intergenerational kind of experience.
Well, I hope everybody takes some time to come down here to the Pennsylvania Trolley Museum and spend an afternoon. Bring your kids, bring your grandparents, enjoy some history, and just have a wonderful afternoon. And I can't thank you enough for taking the time.
We're honored to have you here.
And thank you for letting me drive the
Absolutely.
trolley. It was great.
Anytime.
Oh, good. I'll take you
Yeah,
up on that.
anytime. Thank you, Camera.
Thanks so much for
Yeah.
joining us on Focus on the 46. We have an incredible district here, and I'm so happy to be able to share some of it with you.